TikToker just turned off his comments after people from all over the world began coming after him and his followers by the boatload. For those of you who don't know, this guy's name is John Romano. He shot up a school back in 2004. Here's what went down. In the weeks leading up to the incident, John had been begging his mom to buy him a shotgun, and after much persistence, she did. Then one night, the then 16-year-old wrote up a manifesto explaining he'd been fantasizing about blasting up his school for the past few years. That he was tired of being ignored, tired of not being seen, and that he was tired of being lied to by certain individuals. The next morning, he woke up, placed that firearm in a large black carrying case, then drove himself to school where he entered a second-floor bathroom. It was there John spent the next 20 minutes preparing himself for what he was about to do. But then, just as he began to walk out, another student walked in. That student fled back to class where he barricaded the room and informed his teacher of the situation. John then fired 2 rounds just above the head of 2 students entering the hallway. It's worth noting the spread came so close it quite literally knocked the hat off of one of those students. John then started making his way down the hallway, where he entered a classroom and just stared down several students prior to walking back out. He then fired 1 more round into the side of a door just before the vice principal grabbed him from behind. And as they struggled for control of the firearm, John fired 1 more round, striking another faculty member directly in the shin. Well, John was charged with attempted murder and would spend the next 17 years behind bars for his action. He was then released in 2020. But here's the thing. Just 2 years later, in January of 2022, he started posting on TikTok. However, it wasn't until December of that same year people began to realize just who he was and what he had done. Now hear me out, because I promise you I'm gonna make this make sense. Rewind back just 3 months to September of 2022. John is working at what is essentially a soup kitchen when a guy comes in and starts acting erratic, and John tells him, look, you gotta go. Just a few minutes later, that same guy came back wielding 2 swords and just started going to town on John. I mean, this was an extremely violent attack, and John almost ended up losing both of his arms and legs due to it. Well, over the months that followed, John began cultivating a rather large following of people solely off of this horrifying event. Now, at first, people being directed towards his TikTok by news outlets were seeing headlines such as "Guy working at soup kitchen attacked with swords." And by the end of that same month, those headlines changed from this to this, talking about how a school shooter from back in '04 was attacked by a maniac with 2 swords. Only then did John actually post a video explaining what he had done, and surprisingly, people were extremely supportive of his objective. They stated he had been forgiven, that he had served his time, and that he had paid his dues to our society. But all that would change when John posted the following video.
I was in middle school when Columbine happened, and I remember being terrified afterwards, actually. I don't remember the day it happened. I never watched the news or anything, but I remember the atmosphere kind of changing in the school where suddenly everybody realized like somebody could come in and start shooting.
It was at this point, parents who had lost children in these types of situations began stitching his videos.
You'll never receive my respect. And even though that I wasn't even involved with the school shooting that you initiated and did, you will never get my forgiveness for it. And I don't feel sorry for anything that you have faced since then. You deserve it.
Why are you talking about me? Why do you got my picture showing on there? You're
Because
trying to
I
get
don't
views
think you
and
belong.
likes off of me.
Oh,
and my
here we
tragedy
go.
that I committed.
want views
So
and
you are
likes off of you.
disrespecting not only me for what I went through, you're disrespecting my victims because you're not interested in
gosh, you
bettering
care
things.
about the victims
You're on
of the
here
school
bullshitting
shooting?
with people. So
You care
have a
about
good
the
night.
you care about the victims of I'm somehow hurting the victims of your school shooting while you're sitting on this app trying to garner sympathy because you were attacked by swords and I'm the problem?
What do y'all think?